all is actually somewhat rare that we get this number at an annual town meeting, much less a special. Again, this is governance, the closest to the people, it's the best we have. So we should all be proud of our effort tonight. And that said, looks like everybody is mostly in. Quorum being present, this meeting is hereby called to order. I would first like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we open the meeting, what customarily takes place in this spot in the beginning is recognitions. And typically at annual town meeting, that would be awards or presentations. I would like to beg your indulgence for a moment to remember Arthur A. Booth Jr. For those of you who knew Arthur or are not aware, Arthur passed away this month. Arthur was a dedicated public servant in the best of the tradition of Hampden. From his days as the head of the auxiliary police department, his time on the board of registrars, and Arthur, along with John Flynn's father, John M., had an interesting distinction. They both served with the first woman selectman, my grandmother, and the youngest selectman, me. You wouldn't know that by now because I'm fat and bald, but back then I actually had hair. Arthur was a lot of things. When I was a kid growing up, Arthur was the guy who was in his pickup truck flying down the street to go to a meeting every night. Arthur missed a lot of baseball games. Arthur missed a lot of family activities in the best interest of this community. And Arthur went on to be not just the guy I knew in the pickup truck, but he went on to become one of the three major mentors of my life. And then one night Arthur called me, and it was near election time, 1999, and Arthur said, "I'd like to have a glass of wine with you at the Hampden House." And we sat down and I said, "So what do you want?" And he said, "Well, here's the deal." He said, "Your kids are about this tall." And he said, "When my kids were about this tall, I was the guy in the pickup truck running all over the place and missing baseball games and all the things that went with family." And he said, "I'm here to tell you that if you decide to run again, you'll probably win. But in the long run, you're going to lose because you're going to miss out on the most important part of your life. Don't make the same mistake I made. Don't run." And I didn't. And in that moment, Arthur became my elder, my mentor, and my friend. And I will never forget it, nor should any of us, because again, he was, in the truest and best sense of the word, a Hampdenite. And if we could just have one moment of silence for Arthur. Thank you. Now we do with the reading of the warrant. To either of the constables in the town of Hampden in said county, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby required to notify and then warn the inhabitants of the town of Hampden qualified to vote in town affairs to meet at Thornton W. Burgess Middle School, 85 Wilbraham Road, Hampden, on Monday, October 30th at 7 o'clock in the evening, and there and then to act upon the following articles. The articles are listed, we won't read them now. The posting was complete. I, Constable for the town of Hampden, have on this date posted copies of the warrant for the town meeting to be held on October 30th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in all the places designated by the town of Hampden. Signed, Constable Dennis Hackett, date of post 10/12/23. The return of the warrant is complete. The warrant is served. The formal reading of the warrant is hereby waived, and the posted warrant shall be the record. Just a few housekeeping notes, if you could please turn off or silence your cell phones. Please know that the discussion here is open and free and should be respected of all parties, whether you agree or disagree. Remember one thing, the person you disagree with tonight is going to be the person you're going to see tomorrow at the Village Mart or the Shell Station, and it sure would be nice that you don't come out swinging. All questions must be addressed through the moderator. Please keep all questions of discussion on point. The question may be moved by a member or the moderator, subject to a vote and/or the moderator's discussion. Please come to the microphone. We've set up a microphone for questions. We've been somewhat remiss in doing this, but we do have one on the easel up front here. Now, there's two issues. We've got a pretty full house tonight. It's going to be difficult to hear. The microphone will make it easier. So if you have a comment or a question, please come to the easel. The microphone, by turning it on and waiting for the green light, will allow you to address the meeting after stating your name and address for the record. And further to that, it also aids in the recording, which helps the town clerk with the submission for the state record. And last and most, just to hit the point one last time, this is a civil meeting. Before we start, does the advisory committee have anything they want to say?
Yes, thank you, Rick. Can everybody hear me okay?
No.
How about now?
Try pulling it closer. It seems like it's...
Hello?
No.
Hello? I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Good evening, my name is Doug Boyd. I'm the chair of the advisory committee. Just like to give you a quick overview of what we are dealing with this evening. We have free cash that's been certified, which is excess revenue from the last fiscal year. That totals $908,999. We have articles. The total dollar value of all of these articles amounts to $364,290. Our recommendation is going to be to fund the articles out of the free cash and to apply the balance of the free cash to reducing the tax rate. In addition, we are going to recommend a transfer out of the stabilization fund in an amount which will bring the target tax increase on the tax rate to between 3.5% and 4%. That number, what that actual number out of stabilization is, we won't know until all these articles have been voted, and we do the math and do the calculation in terms of what's necessary to reach that target. But that's an overview of what
All right, Article 1. Funding for the senior center architectural design. If the town will vote to raise the appropriate transfer from unappropriated available funds a sum of money to fund architectural design in addition to the Hampden Senior Center or take any other action relative thereto. Don, we have a motion.
Moderator, I would make a motion. I move that the town vote to transfer from unappropriated available funds the sum of $60,000 to fund architectural design for the existing senior center.
Second. We have a motion. We have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action on a 2-to-1 vote.
You have a motion, you have a second. The advisory recommendation. Are there any questions from the floor? Don, do you want to say anything about this?
I'll make a few comments. First of all, Don Collins, I'm a member of the Senior Center Building Committee. The Senior Center Building Committee was appointed by the selectmen. 9 citizens of the town make up the committee. The selectmen were approached by the COA, the Council on Aging, the board of the Senior Center, a couple of years ago, where they entertained having a study done to look at the needs of the Senior Center, the current needs, and looking forward for the next 25 years or so. So the Senior Center building has served us well over the past 23 plus years. And the Senior Center, besides serving the seniors, back 10 years ago when there was a snowstorm and many of us lost power, and of course in Hampden, if you lose power in your house, you don't only lose your lights, but you lose your water and you lose your heat. At that time, the senior center opened up as an emergency center and served all of the people of Hampden. So now over the past several years, the programs at the senior center have grown and shortcomings have emerged in the building and the availability of space in the building. Renovations are needed after 25 years, and there are severe space limitations that become evident. There's three areas that we looked at. One, looking for space for private and confidential conversations when people come to the senior center to discuss the food stamp assistance, fuel assistance, health insurance, analysis and recommendations, consulting with a nurse or consulting with a veterans agent. An example of some of the shortcomings at the center, if you, they have a foot care program. If you go to the center for foot care, you will meet in the janitor's closet with a foot care specialist. Quite an inappropriate space for a healthcare procedure. Also during the year there are 19 programs that the center runs that meet. If you look in the scribe that you received in the Hampden Times, you'll see that they listed the 19 programs that the senior center puts on. These programs are, if you look at the calendar in the scribe, there are 8 to 10 programs per day. There's, besides, now one of the key areas that were short besides space for these previous programs is storage space. These 19 programs have equipment and supplies that are necessary for their program, and there is a dire lack of space. The senior center has to store all this equipment and supplies. There's a dire lack of space for the storage. And then the third area is looking at expanded programs, need for space of the current programs, plus our charge from the selection was to look at the needs for the next 25, 35 years. So there will be obviously future programs coming down the road. So the building committee has met for the past year 2 times a month. We've identified the needs, we've refined this list, we've looked at alternatives and options, and we've come up with a final list of needs. We are requesting this fund so that we can, the next step is to meet with an architectural firm to come up with a design that will meet these needs. Now, some slide presentations have been made there that show you some of the situations at the senior center. But anyway, thank you for your patience. Any questions?
Seeing, whoop, we got one. Go. Mary Ellen, could you please?
Well, I speak louder, but maybe they can hear me.
They can hear you. There's method to the madness, Mary Ellen. You gotta buy in.
I'm wondering if you expanded your hours. I understand you're open 4 days, and if you were open 5 days, would that meet some of the needs that you see presenting yourself?
We discussed that, and the feedback was that most of the seniors, if you expand your hours, say to 8 o'clock in the morning to after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that is not a time when seniors are looking to attend the center. So that was kind of discounted. Gotcha.
The question was, if you extend 5 days.
Oh, well, we could look at that. I don't, Beck, you have any comment on that?
Hold on, I think I've heard a couple of comments from this side that the senior center is open 5 days. Okay, and I'm seeing head shaking, so that's in the affirmative. That's one for me. So Any other questions? Seeing none, this requires a majority vote. All those in favor of the transfer? Are there any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Article 2, funding for the fiber optic program. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from unappropriated available funds a sum of money on construction of a town-wide fiber optic internet system or take any other action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to authorize the treasurer to borrow, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, up to $8,577,148 to fund town-wide fiber optic internet system as provided in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 8, Subsection 8.
Seconded.
The motion has been made and seconded. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action on a 2-to-1 vote.
This is the time for discussion. I believe that Craig Levesque and maybe some others of the group have a brief presentation for you. So let's do the presentation first, and then we'll take the questions.
Thank you. All right, I'll try to make this quick, and just want to echo what the moderator said earlier. I think it's great to see this many people come out to a town meeting. It's good to see everybody's voices being heard. With that said, I want to address a couple things first. One is these flyers that a lot of you probably got in the mail, robocalls, door knockings. They're from a group called the Alliance for Quality Broadband. They are a lobbyist group for Charter Communications, and as noted right on their website, they say they're affiliated with Charter. They are not a grassroots organization as they portray themselves, and they're deeply funded. They've gone around the country with similar smear tactics, and they've invested quite a bit of time in Hampden, a lot of money into this campaign to combat what they consider is competition. Now, part of the selectmen's responsibilities is to look at all the possible ails in town and speak to alternative solutions to a variety of town-wide issues. When we have these options, we present them, these solutions, to the public at town meeting, like we're all doing tonight, to see if you, the residents, find it a viable option as well, or not. The whole goal, you want to go to the next one, the whole goal of the fiber optic internet in Hampden has been a way with the residents in mind. Our job was to find a competitive alternative to a state-regulated monopoly of cable providers. First and foremost, as a much-needed choice, offering a reliable and fast service locally. Adding local accountability to your service, knowing that who you need to deal with is going to be local to us, whether it's our fiber optic committee or our partners in the program. And a way for the community to invest back into the town, keeping those dollars revolving within the community, rather than sending them back out to a corporate entity or a stakeholder or a lobbyist. Case in point, lobbyists. So, with that said, the town started fiber optic exploration 2.5 years ago. We established an MLP, which is a municipal light plan. And those that have been at town meetings may have recalled we had overwhelming support for those at 2 consecutive meetings. We've also brought it up at every town meeting since then, the last 2.5 years. This gave us the means to apply for grants, which we did, and thus far have completely funded this project of exploration with the grant, not touching the tax base. Now that the exploration is done, we are presenting the cost findings and what we find would be an added benefit to the town, to you, the residents. Now, I understand the cost. When we listen to it, the $8.5 million, it's a scary number. But the concept of this is to run municipal fiber much like the transfer station, paid for by the subscribers with an enterprise account, where revenues collected will be used to pay off the bond for the maintenance and upgrades to the system. I think it should be clear, though, that today we're not looking to borrow $8.5 million, today, tomorrow, or next year. But by voting yes, you will give the town the vehicle to move forward in stages over the next 3 to 5 years, to fund the project in incremental phases, and that's important, while bringing on customers throughout that construction phase, collecting revenues before the bonding process even begins. Voting yes also allows the town to be a serious contender when seeking grant funding from the state and federal government via infrastructure improvement funds. amongst many others, which, for instance, the Massachusetts Municipal Fiber Grant Program opens up for applicants March 11th. Now, with all that said and done, at the end of the project, 3 to 5 years, we're hoping to bond the entire package and be at less than the proposed amount being presented today by actively seeking grant funds that we've already sought out to get to this point. So there's a little bit of a financial breakdown that kind of shows you how the finances look. And 8.5 million is right now the estimated cost of construction without any additional grant funding or state architecture help. For instance, the MBI system, Massachusetts Broadband, has $147 million they're looking to allocate to towns. There's other community compacts, like I said, open up in March that we're going to be looking into get. Now, you want to scroll on. According to the Massachusetts Broadband Institute, there's 213 households in Hampton, and only 18 are unserved at this time. That leaving 1,995 households that currently have a broadband connection. So with that information, we're looking to have a target rate of 50% of the population, which leaves at 998 households. And we estimate that a monthly cost of $85, 28 of it will go to Whip City for their ISP and network operations, leaving $57 per customer town revenue. Times that by 998 households, you're looking at $682,000 annual net to the town, and an average annual income of around $31,000 at a 50% take rate. That's my spiel. I know there's tons of other questions that are probably going to come up, and I've tried to answer it a bunch here, so I'll leave it at that for now.
So why don't we do this? I know there's probably going to be a fair number of questions. There are some folks here, along with Craig, in a position to answer questions. If you could bring them through the moderator, and we'll get the questions answered, if there are any. Any questions? Seeing none. There is one. Hold on, what do you got? And please, I need you to come up here and state your name for the record. There's a microphone right there. It's on. It's on. Give her yours if you want. Just make sure it's on. She's got red light.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah.
Speak up.
What does the construction look like?
I'm sorry, one thing first. Could you please state your name and address?
Oh, sorry. It's
That's okay.
Amida Bashar, 32 Walnut Road.
And your question, please.
What does the construction look like? Like what does it entail?
The entail pretty much running fiber lines on all the poles in town.
Use the microphone.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So what it's going to entail is there's going to be fiber optic lines run on all the lines in town. There is a portion of town that is underground, so that will factor into that. And then there will be a fiber service hub, which will be the central hub for the distribution to the town.
So how much digging is going to happen? Like, is it going to be a big dig in Boston?
No, it's not going to be a big dig. I got the actual number here if you're looking for miles. There are 64 miles of overhead distribution and only 7 miles of underground distribution. And a lot of that is in neighborhoods that have been underground utilities. So there's conduit already underground. They're looking to use that to feed the fiber. So big construction phases, you're not looking to dig it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? In the back, yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Dave Hayward, and I'm on the fiber optic committee, so a little bit of a ringer in that regard. But the situation that I've been faced with, I was shocked the other day. We live on Summers Road. We have a 300-foot driveway. You can't see our house from the road. And we had a guy knocking on our door, no car in our driveway, and I was a little shocked. It never happens. In fact, we've been here 30 years and never had a trick-or-treater, so I was like, what's going on? He's a well-dressed young man, and I asked him, I said, where are you from? He said, Boston. I said, Boston? Wow. So what are you doing? And he told me the story about the broadband and all the things why not to do it. And I says, so are you paid? He said, yeah. I said, by whom? He said, the Alliance for something or other, whatever the thing is. I looked it up, Charter Communications. So I went, holy cow, this is a hot issue, I guess. They're really sending folks out. But what I understand is that we're gonna, if I'm not mistaken, that there's the possibility with this grant program that we may not have any cost at all, or very little. So we don't know that for certain, but we can't apply for the grant until we're actually in construction. So it's, there's plenty of federal and state money out there, and I just hate to see that pot go away. So that's my point.
Mr. Sibilia, come on up.
Hi, Tom.
I'm Joe Sibilia from Meadowbrook Lane. I don't want to pile on to Charter, but I thought it would be appropriate to give some information on where the money for your cable bill goes to. So the first guy right off the top that gets money from your cable bill is a guy by the name of Tom Rutledge. He's a pretty famous guy at putting deals together. Last year he was paid $39,462,964 from your cable bill. The next guy was paid, Chris Winfrey, $15,624,967. The next guy on the list is this guy, John Hargis. He made $4,484,508, all coming off your cable bill. In addition to that, the average executive at Spectrum, a couple people have asked me where do you get these jobs, was paid $900,000 last year. The company also paid, coming from your cable bill, $11 million to lobby to support the continuance of this exclusive monopoly that they have. In addition to that, they paid $80 million for your cable bill for public relations for the Alliance for Quality Broadband, which has been dubbed a fake consumer group. Today, I filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission as a result of their activities in Hampden. There's no record of them in the Federal Election Commission. All this information is public. Now, on top of that, you got a dying dog of a business. Cable is like the VCR. It's dying. In 2021, the share of Charter was $749. I don't know if any of you have this in your retirement accounts, or any of you have this in your investment portfolio. But before I left the house tonight, the value of that share was $372, half. They're fighting for their survival so that cities and towns like this will not put in fiber optics, so they don't lose their business, so they continue to pay these executives, they can continue to pay Congress, they can continue to pay public relations firm to continue their monopoly. In this case, all that money that was going to these executives in public relation and lobbyists is going to stay in town. And the extra money is going to be used to pay down the debt, if we have to borrow any of that money, or use for the development of other programs in the town, or reduce your cable bill. And it'll increase the value of your house. If you don't have fiber optics, these young executives that are working from home making $900,000 a year, they won't buy your house. If you have a business that relies on the internet or fast speed because you're doing business online, they're not going to buy your house. The kids are going to watch shows. You're going to be entertained. You're going to be buying things. This is a good deal for the town. And I urge you to support and vote yes for this motion. Thank you.
That said, are there any questions with regard to the financing, the structure, or the like, as opposed to any of the questions or concerns or comments about what we've heard so far? So I kind of want to change up the dynamic and move the question. Dick. Dick is usually more vocal than that.
Mr. Microphone. My name is, you can hear, oh, there it is. Takes a second for it to link up. Sometimes it takes me a second. My name is Dick Patello. I live on Chapin Road. I'm also the treasurer for the town of Hampden. Craig ran for the Board of Selectmen on the concept of that we ought to be in this business. And while I thought that's a cute idea, I never thought it would probably pay off. I got a show me attitude. I'm kind of known inside of the townhouse to be the chief curmudgeon, so yeah. But we were very fortunate we were able to get some grant money in order to do all the initial investigation. I think they spent like $180,000 or something like that. Ooh, wow. I guess I should have been watching closer. And what I asked Craig for was a business plan. And what he came up with is, and he ran through those numbers very, very quickly, is what a 50% take rate would look like, and it would pay off any expense of financing this thing, this $8.5 million project. So I'm looking at scenarios where he might be wrong. And according to all the math that I did, if he gets his 50% take rate, we end up with a little over $25,000 positive cash flow in the bank. Okay, yippee, so it doesn't cost us anything. But what if it's a 40% take rate? And if it's a 40% take rate, it would cost us $109,000 a year. That's $49 a year on your house. If that's like $8 a month. If Charter comes back and says, wants to compete and drops your cable bill $20 a month, that's $240 a year. Well, they're not gonna back up, and they want us to fail, so yeah, it could happen. I pay almost $200 a month to Charter. And then I was looking at how many things, the $8.5 million sounds like a lot of money for a 20-year project, but if everybody's paying what I'm paying, they are extracting $4.5 million a year from those 1,980 subscribers, 1,995 subscribers. So, you know, it's possible, maybe other people are cheaper than I am. I mean, Doug pays a lot less, he's smarter than me. But even at what he's paying, that's $3 million a year. So I think there's enough margin for error here, even if you're a pessimist like me and the grant money doesn't come in and the take rate's a little bit low. I think this is the only way we're going to keep the government monopoly from just charging whatever they can. So I'm going to vote in favor of it.
I have a question. If the take rate is.
Hold on, if you have a question, you need to state your name for the record and use the microphone, please. Otherwise, it turns into a free-for-all.
Sorry, my name is Kathy Thomas, I'm on Echo Valley Drive.
Thank you.
My question is, if they have a lower take rate of, say, 40% instead of 50%, and the rate has to go up a little bit, you said like $8 a month, that's only subscribers to the fiber that pay that money, correct?
Maybe. If you raise the price of the product, then only the subscribers will. If you raise the price of the product, then only subscribers will. The example that I was saying, if the take rate is 40 instead of 30, and you didn't change the rate, the worst scenario is $49.30 on the average house a year. So I guess what I'm saying is the $8.5 million isn't as scary as it looks. Because even if he's off by 20%, it's $50 a year. And, you know, that's chump change in our budget, to be honest with you. I'm sorry to say that. But, you know, we're talking about $16 million a year. I mean, I have to send a check for over $1 million to the school this week. So, you know, it's not a ton of money. It seems like a pretty low-risk venture to me, that's all.
Dick, you read the 40%, do you mind reading the 60% take rate?
Thank you, that's my next question.
Well, at the 60% take rate, then it would be a positive income of $161,071, and
it would mean that if we apply that to the taxes, everybody's tax bill would go down $72.32. But I'm a pessimist, so I didn't worry about that. I do want to say, I was a pessimist about the ambulance project, and I've deposited $50,000 in rebates this year.
Okay. Any other questions? I see momentum toward a vote. Yes, sir. Pat.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
I'm the guy who says vote no on the internet, and just to take a few minutes of personal reasons. Bad Clavette, Highland Circle in Hampton. I'm the guy who writes all the comments on the internet that says vote no. For me, it's a personal reason, primarily because I have a TiVo unit in my house and the fiber optic will not work. Now, I might be the only person in Hampton that has that, okay? But if you have one, fiber optic will not work. Number two question is, does anybody pay more than $80 a month currently for their internet? Look at your bill. You pay more than that for your TV. Internet only, how much? You got the high speed.
Pat, I don't want to get into that deep a debate. I don't want to go into the minutia with this, so we'll stay with the points, but I don't want to joust with the voters, okay? Okay, no, go ahead.
Most people think that this fiber optic is gonna save them a couple $100 because their spectrum bill, as Dick said, was a couple $100 a month. It's only gonna save you $80. You're not gonna have TV with the fiber optic unless you pay extra for it. Okay, so you know that. I have no problems with spectrum. My question is, we have a contract the town does with Spectrum. Why does that contract not call for service, performance, and what is the contract actually for?
That contract is coming up in 2024, and all those things will be addressed in the new contract.
They're not in the current contract?
From what I was reading, there is no service requirements other than they have to require it to the town.
Any other questions? All right, I see two. Let's go with this young lady here first, please. I got you, Gary. You got your hand, right?
Thank you. I'm Jackie Fournier from Chapin Road, and I have, with the cable system now, my landline phone, television, and my, help me, internet, okay? And I have a big problem with this, and you keep saying broadband. That only means computer, correct?
Broadband means internet connection.
Internet, okay? The other thing that I have is I've had really good luck with Charter. They gave me a number, you know, I do my little old lady act. I don't want to wait, I don't want to, you know, put me on a computer tape. I want to tell you I've got trouble with my cable TV, and I call and I speak to a person.
Please charge.
No idea.
Okay, they come and they're quick, and who is going to service the broadband, just my computer? Then that makes me go, and if I want a landline, I go. If I want a TV, you know, it just gets more complicated. The one thing that I want to say is I'm still PO'd about all of the farms we have for electricity, and our damn electric bills do not go down. That money that they pay our government goes into the general fund, but our taxes don't go down.
Excuse me, 1 second. I want to interrupt you. We really need to stay on point. Please don't drift, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So I want to be really cautious about the broadband people, kind of like golf course, the people who are involved with it are making money off of it. So who are we kidding who? You know, someone wants this done. I would like you to tell me that we're gonna have a good repair system, that it's not gonna go up every year, and holy hallelujah, if we've got something that works, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Thank you very much. Hold on one second, because Gary's first. Gary's next.
Gary Weiner, 53 Mill Road.
Come on, Gary, you gotta play by the rules. Doesn't matter how long you've been here.
Gary Weiner, 53 Mill Road, Hampden. Just to follow up the lady's question, for Craig, if we vote broadband, who maintains it? In other words, we have a snowstorm, the line goes down, who maintains it, and who pays for it?
So the payment, as I mentioned earlier, would come out of, say, revolving fund or the enterprise fund that would be funded through the program in a perfect world. As far as maintenance goes, Whip City Fiber would be the vendor who was in charge of the ISP and the network operations. So they have a team ready to roll in the event of a snowstorm or anything like that. They would be on the list to get it taken care of.
Explain ISP.
Internet service provider.
All right, Joyce, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have lots of questions. Oh, absolutely. That's right, Missy. Hi, Joyce Zimmerman, Sessions Drive. I have some questions. We always keep saying internet, internet. What about the television? What about our phone lines we have in the house? Is this part of this process as well?
There's a lot of different things that go along with it. So under the fiber optic program, you would be getting fiber optic internet. You would then have a choice of, say, subscription services. A lot of people have already cut the cord from cable TV, so a lot of people may use Fubo TV, Sling TV, Netflix, Hulu. Those are their choices for watching television. You can also watch TV for free, local TV, channel 40, channel 22, with just a regular household antenna. You put it on the back of your TV and it pulls in the signals.
Well, all that stuff you just mentioned, I'm not familiar with it, so I'm not.
So what happens is we're in the fiber optic committee, and if this passes, they're going to be in charge of community outreach and community education to get everybody on board and understand what's needed for the steps to advance. Whip City also has a great customer service team, which they would partner with the fiber optic committee to help facilitate all those one-on-one needs to get the residents up and running as they need it, whether it be telephone line or TV choices or service packages.
Well, I'm old school, I need a lot of changes, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
The TV's gonna be affected, and the phone that I already have to.
Only if you change.
Only if you change, correct, only if you change. You don't have to change. That's why we're shooting for a 50% take rate, which gets us self-sufficient on the fund, it gets us self-sufficient on the program.
So are we gonna be taxed for that, we're just gonna use our tax?
At a 50% take rate, no.
Alright,
No.
okay. I'll live with that, I'm old school, I like it.
Hold on, I got one on the wall, hold on a second, I just want to scan the room really quick, I see 2, 3. Young lady, please, come forward.
I didn't expect to speak tonight. My name's Jane Thorpe, 106 Stony Hill Road in Hampden. I'm actually a customer service representative with Whip City Fiber for over 4 years. And to the woman who was speaking before, her point, whenever you call, you will always get a person like myself. We have a very small, close-knit group of customer service representatives. Right now, there's 12 of us. We work around the clock during, snowstorms. We have the ability to work from home, so we can answer your calls, your questions. Technicians who are always there and available. You'll never get a machine unless it's, after hours, and we will get back to you within 24. We have a really great team. We have an UMA service for those customers who have those landline phones who are looking for another option for a telephone. So we have a very easy conversion program to help you carry that over if needed. We will walk you through streaming services, helping you get set up. Our technical support team is great. They're available 7 days a week. We're in the office Monday through Friday. And if you ever see me around town, please feel free to reach out to me, ask me a couple questions. But it's a really, really great option for Hampden, and to see the way that it has grown so well with smaller communities like Hampden, I think it would really be beneficial for the town.
All right, again, I see momentum toward a vote, but I do see a card up in the back, but I can't see the hand. Is that, please, Jim, I couldn't, yep, lost you in the crowd there. Said with all due respect. Come on up.
I was hiding in the back. I was hiding in the back. Mr. Moderator, would it be appropriate to ask the advisory committee for the dissenting opinion?
It would absolutely be within the bounds. Is the dissenting opinion?
The dissenting, can you cut? The dissenting opinion is on Zoom behind you.
Can we get her in with her opinion?
Can't hear.
Bob, can we get her in with her opinion, or do you know what it is, and can you just restate it?
I think a fair summary of her position was she didn't feel that she knew enough about the details of the proposal to support it. I think that's a fair summary of her position.
All right, so, okay, Jim?
Thank you.
Okay.
James Smith, Glendale Road, Hampden, the other person like that that's been saying no on social media. I don't have any problems with the concept, and I'd like to thank the members of the committee for taking the time to do this. I just wonder if there's alternatives, because I'm conceptually opposed to the town taking town taxpayer money to bond, to take that money to build infrastructure and then contract out to a private business to make money off that infrastructure. So that's the biggest reason for this, but I think there's also a lot of false information out there. The current internet provider, even if at the low rate of 200 million megabits per second, you can do a lot of streaming, you can do a lot of work. I have an office at home, and I have no problems doing monitoring machine equipment across the country. My wife streams stuff onto the TV or to her, to her devices, international Zoom meetings, etc. So it's not an issue where people are without an internet option. So I'm respectfully asking people not to vote. Well, I can't say that. I would just stay with my position here that I think it's not appropriate for the town to ask the taxpayers to invest in the build-out of a private service. I think there are other options that need to be looked into. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? See one of them. Yes, sir. I got you on the wall, too.
My name is Russell. I live on East Long Meadow Drive, Russell Deerage, and I'm here to talk about the technical end. Navy trained, U.S. Currently work for the U.S. government on the cyber network. I maintain the fiber network. It is fun. It does work great, awesome speeds. I love it. I do feel we're late in doing this. And the reason is the Wi-Fi router up on the wall right now. Wireless is the future. I have right now Spectrum. It works 97% of the time, and 3% of the time I'm absolutely totally pissed off. And wish I had the fiber. However, when it happens, I whip out my cell phone, I create a hotspot, I connect my Wi-Fi to it, and I'm good. And I can stream. That's right now. So if I add 3 years, 5 years of building, and 10 years of paying a 20-year bond, I don't think that 50% take rate is there. However, after that, the cost is minimal if we don't get that 50% take rate. So the technical end, you will have internet, so you'll lose your phone, you lose your cable TV. However, those are all replaceable. Like she said, with the adapters, you can get your phone moved over, your phone number ported over, and get on the system. You can get streaming services. So if you like the Food Network, the Golf Channel, or what have you, ESPN, you can look at the streaming services that support that and purchase that. So if you're $87, you're $20 into a streaming service. I have 2 or 3 streaming services at the moment. You also have, let me stay with the thought here. So once you also can have a digital antenna, like the gentleman said, that can get many, many channels that a lot of you don't know are there and are in a digital format. However, you would have to switch the input on your TV to the antenna over to the streaming services. So, last thing, I'll try to make it brief. In the paperwork that I see, there's costs. If you'll notice, there's a cost there for 10 gigabyte of service. So we're going to sell 998 people a 1 gig service. We're going to supply that 990 gig services with 10 gigabytes. So if 998 go to their PC at the same time and test speed tests, you're not going to get your 1 gig. Household standard, industry standard is 10 megabits per second per house. That allows for 3 people in the house to stream. More, you would need more. Heavy users are going to love it. Other users may not. Questions I have. Hurricane Sandy comes through and gives us a good 30–40% wipeout. Do we put the bill for that?
If Hurricane Sandy comes through, we're gonna get FEMA funds.
Okay.
We're responsible for the maintenance and upkeep, which is incorporated into the cost of the service.
Understood. So that's one question I have about that. The other is that I just don't think for 20 years there's going to be, right now I can count 5 different options right now for broadband in our town. There's wireless, you may go to T-Mobile. They may say you're covered down on Scantic. You get down on Scantic and you don't have coverage. Who would have known? They would have lied to you. However, you buy a $99 booster, put it on your roof, pipe it down to a Wi-Fi router, and attach your equipment to a Wi-Fi router, you're in business. So I'm with the gentleman over here that was saying about the town putting us at risk of debt. And I know a 66-year-old woman who gets up 5 in the morning, goes to work, and I think it's passing on a lot.
Excuse me 1 second. We're getting way down in the weeds here.
Okay.
I really, this is what I want to avoid, because I think we spent a fair amount of time on the technical aspects and the multiple options and so forth. So if I could please just ask you to wrap it up.
Absolutely, I'm done. I just want to make sure people do it practically, because we're not thinking about it.
We have a motion to move the question. We have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation on moving the question?
We recommend favorable action on moving the question.
All right, we now have a vote to move the question. This is unanimous. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of moving the question? Any opposed? We are now going to vote on the question. Now, this requires a 2/3 vote. I've got 2 folks ready to count if I cannot do this on an eyeball. Because this involves borrowing, this will require a 2/3 majority to pass. All those in favor of the question, please raise your cards. Those opposed? The motion carries. I'm sorry. If you can ask for a count. If you disagree with my eyeball summation of this, usually it's 7 people to challenge, but I'll accept the challenge anyway. Are you asking for a hand count?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we are going to do a hand count. Dick, can I ask you to grab this half of the room from the center over? John, could I ask you to get this half of the room from that side over, and then just give me your numbers? Those in favor, please raise your cards.
I got 60, I'm gonna do it again. Yeah, said 60? 60, 61, actually. All right, Peter.
Did you get the state?
Aye.
72.
Chuck's checking again, so. Hey, John, have this stage. John has that on this stage. What? 61. 61? Yep. All right. Now, those opposed, please raise your cards.
Okay, with apologies, because it's incredibly close. The recount determines that the motion fails. It achieves 65%, not the necessary 66
I've never seen it that close.
Okay, so there was some good conversation, and I just, to give you all, to keep everybody informed of what's going on and where we are, there was a reason for the delay. First of all, we had to make sure the math was right. Second of all, there was discussion up here on, with regard to the board, we could do reconsideration. The actual math is 64.8%, 2/3 is 66 and 2/3. So it's 2% short. I know that there was a comment that came up that the folks who are watching the meeting via the Zoom link, many are upset with the fact that they can't vote. Let me just say, you know what, and I get it, maybe some of you may feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but then again, these folks are watching. We have steadfastly said since the beginning of Zoom and this type of forum that you need to be here in order for the vote to count. We have no way to know that if you're watching from home, who's going to be voting, how they're going to be voting, who's going to be in the room, what influence the room that none of us can see and none of us has any say over has. For lack of a better way to say it, you got to be here to play. I do very much, quite frankly, I wasn't initially in favor of the Zoom meeting at all, but I also recognize that it's another way for this form of government to at least be seen by folks, but we are not set for the structure for people to vote from home at this time. So to at least address the concern of the folks watching, it's the votes in the room that count. And again, in the final analysis, just to give it to you, it was 133 folks in favor, 72 folks opposed, the total was 205. When you do the division, it comes out to 64.8%, which is not 2/3. Yes, sir.
Yes, is it 2/3?
Joe Green, 21 Tall Pines Road. Is it 2/3 of those in attendance or 2/3 of those voting?
2/3 of those voting. Yes.
I just want to double check what you just said. It was my understanding that it was a total of 68 who voted against. 46 on this side, and then 22 from Mr. Matthews on the other.
26 on Mr. Matthews'
Oh,
side.
I thought it was 22.
Yep, so again, just so we all stay on the same page, because this is clearly important. Those in favor, the counts on this side of the room were 72, counting the stage. Those in favor on this side were 61, counting the stage. The total was 133. Those opposed, this side of the room was 46, this side of the room was 26, for a total of 72. 133 and 72, 205. 133 divided by 205 is 64.8%. Yes. So the question becomes the rule on reconsideration, meaning can we reconsider the vote now? It would take me. Hold on, just in fairness. Hold on, I'm not saying we're gonna do it, I just want to explain the premise, because each side of the debate has a right to at least have the question answered. It would take some research for reconsideration. My point to the selectmen is I didn't think we should do it, and John, I think that it would, quite frankly, I think it would create enough consternation in the room, it would probably make the situation worse. I see a former moderator who I respect. Yes, please, quickly.
I'm just going to point out to you that the handbook on, the moderator's handbook shows you that there's never been a history of reconsideration in a town. It can't be done. And there's never been reconsideration in the years my predecessor and predecessor before him. I don't think it's allowed.
And fair enough, and quite frankly, I hadn't even looked back at the book for reconsideration. I've reviewed it once before. It would take me some homework to do it, and in all fairness to the process, I don't think it would be the right thing to do to the folks who showed up here today. That doesn't mean the question can't be brought back, or we can talk about it again with refinement and go from there, but for now, the matter is closed. Article 3. If you are going to be leaving, I ask you, please keep it down as best you can. We do have other business to conduct. Article 3, additional funding for the town administrator account to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from unappropriated available funds a sum of money to increase the budget line item 19.0, town administrator, or take any other action relative thereto.
I hope you're not leaving. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer $15,000 for unappropriated available funds to increase budget line item 19.0, town administrator.
We have a motion, we have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory committee recommends unfavorable action on a 2-to-1 vote.
Okay. With that said, any discussion?
Our town administrator, Mr. Martin, will be leaving on or about the first of the year. And the days of Hampden having a town administrator who was a recognized statewide experienced, accomplished, and knowledgeable professional administrator for a discount price is coming to an end. I think it's important to note that Mr. Markle was paid on an hourly basis. He received no benefits from the town. He received no paid days off. His net pay, consequently, was not commensurate to what the market is nowadays for town customers. The money asked for in this article is to bring the pay into a competitive range in order to attract a highly qualified candidate who will be full-time. And Mr. Moderator, and with the indulgence of the Assembly, I would just like to say, this is Mr. Martin's, most likely Mr. Martin's last town meeting in Hampden. And for one, I'd like to thank him for his advice and guidance and leadership on a number of important issues, including keeping the town running during the pandemic, the implementation of our ambulance service, securing millions in various grants, establishing a fair and equitable competitive pay scale and benefits back to the town employees, and upgrade technology, just to name a few things. So, available funds to make a competitive salary available for the town administrator.
Any questions from the floor? Seeing none. Oh, you just had your chance. What are you doing?
I just want to explain the recommendation for an unfavorable vote. Microphone I have isn't working. The recommendation for an unfavorable vote is not a reflection of either the position or of Bob's contribution to the town. It's more a reflection of the fact that that position has not even been advertised yet. Bob is planning on leaving at the end of December. So we anticipate that that position is going to be unfilled for some period of time after January 1st, which means that the funds which are in that account now will be available to apply to the new person who's brought into that position. So it's simply a matter of believing that this money is not going to be necessary to hire the type of person that we're going to need, and that believe that those funds are going to be available in the existing budget.
I see a question.
Yes, sir. Larry Blake, Main Street.
Larry, we need you to come up. We
Not loud enough?
No, we gotta stay with the plan here.
All right, Larry Blake on Main Street.
Larry, you know, dogs get hit with rolled up newspapers. Come on.
Just a quick question. Knowing that the position is going to be vacant, why are we waiting to look for a new one?
Continue, please. If they want to hear your name again.
Oh, Larry Blake, Main Street. Yellow House. Once again, why are we waiting to look for a candidate when we know the position's gonna be vacant? It's like, now we're gonna have nobody in there for months while we're looking.
The next article is to fund a search for a candidate, and if it passes, we'll begin the search right away. Hopefully we can complete it by 1st of January.
Any more questions? Seeing none, this requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. This one was easier. Article 4, Town Administrator Search. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from unappropriated available funds a sum of money to hire a search firm to assist the town in recruiting a full-time town administrator or take any other action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer $15,000 from unappropriated available funds to fund the hiring of a search firm to assist, the town recruiting a full-time town administrator.
We've got a motion, we've got a second. Advisory, do you have a recommendation?
Advisory has a recommendation, 2-1 in favor.
Any questions? Okay, Mary Ellen, you first, please. The microphone is right here. We seem to have a surplus. There's one over there.
I would like to, is this working?
It should. Push the button over, make sure there's a green light. Top button, slide it over. And when it turns green, you're good. There you go.
Okay. I would move to amend the motion to say, empower Town Administrator Markle to conduct a search and recruit a full-time town administrator.
Yeah, that's
Did you get it? I'll do it one more time. I move to amend the motion to empower Town Administrator Markle to conduct a search to recruit a full-time town administrator.
So if I understand the motion correctly, the motion is to not invest the money or hire a search committee, but ask Mr. Markle to do the search himself.
Right.
Okay. All right, so we have to deal with the request to amend the motion first. So what we're going to end up voting on here is whether or not to accept the amendment.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Could I ask a question first?
Yep.
Sure, I'll come up.
Oh, wait, hold on. No,
It has to do with the amendment?
Has to do with the amendment?
Yes.
We need to deal with the amendment first, because if Mary Ellen's not gonna retract it, we have to deal with the amendment first.
Well, you're gonna allow debate on the amendment.
Yes, but we need an emotion on the, we need approval for the amendment, correct?
No.
Oh, wait, I'm
How am
sorry.
I gonna know how to vote for the amendment if we can't debate it?
All right, so let's, I'm sorry, I got out of sequence on this. So what we're gonna do is, yes, you are in order to ask questions, and we will talk about the amendment first.
Need a second?
Is there a, oh, by the way, is there a second to that motion? So there is a motion, there is a second, now we can have discussion.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
You gotta make sure the green light is on.
The battery's dying.
Oh, here we go. Now can you hear me? Kathy Pestilano, Chapin Road. Actually, my question is directed to Mr. Markle. Mr. Markle, do you want to be in charge of the search for the town administrator?
That's what it pays.
Because it seems to me that if you don't, then the amendment is moot.
Legally is something that the town administrator, the outgoing town administrator can do, can conduct a search. I have some concerns. Certainly, making judgments about my successor will be controversial. Some will say I made the wrong judgment for whatever reason. And I'd be concerned about that. Here's
Actually, Bob, I can turn the order. Yeah, we can cut this. Yeah. All right. So thank you to town council, because this is a new question for me, and I haven't had this amendment, I haven't had this come up before. So town council, the town meeting cannot dictate who does the search. That is the responsibility that falls within the purview of the Board of Selectmen. So in actuality, the amendment to the motion is moot. So what we can simply vote on, vote it up or down, is the funding for the search as per the motion. Rose, thank you. So, back to the original motion. Are there any questions on the original motion of the search and the funding for a search? Search team.
The cost?
What?
The cost? Do we have a cost?
I believe it was 15,000 was the amount of the motion. If there are no questions, this will require a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. I have two microphones, this gets better and better. Article 5, community preservation projects. To see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve from community preservation annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for community preservation projects, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation or take any other action relative thereto. The first one, we'll take them one at a time, but the first one is we'll hear from Doug, but then the next, to see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve from community preservation annual revenues in the amount recommended by the Community Preservation Committee a sum of money for installation of a 4-foot-high fence on both sides of the garage entrance on the south side of Academy Hall, or take any action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $3,300 from the Community Preservation Fund to install a fence around the garage entrance on the south side of Academy Hall.
Second.
We have the motion, we have the second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Any discussion on the question, or do you want to say something, Doug?
Just that the Community Preservation Fund for the town, money that's already been appropriated and put in the bank, we have $513,909 17, so we have funds.
Are there any questions? I see that.
That Colette Highland Circle.
That, please.
Yeah.
I know.
That Colette Highland Circle. What's the need for a fence?
So the question was, his microphone didn't click on. The question is, what is the need for the fence? It just came out, that's okay.
This request was brought to the Community Preservation Committee by Connie Witt at the request of the Select Board. So the request actually came out of the Select Board for this project.
So you guys, what is the fence for?
This is a simple vote.
I'll try speaking for you.
All right, so there seems to be a little bit of, as to who is actually responsible for the article. Why don't we just do the answer to the question and
The need for the fence is that there is if you can picture the rear of the Academy Hall, there are cement, or not cement, they're granite blocks which have been put in to create the drive to the underside of the Academy Hall. The concern is that creates a fall hazard because it's probably, just estimating, probably 4 to 6 feet on the upper side of that. I don't know if Connie's with us tonight. Am I accurately representing that?
Connie, you're gonna need to come up here if you're gonna answer it, and maybe, to be expeditious, maybe we can, for $3,300, we can sort this one out.
It is quite a drop.
Right into it, Connie.
It is quite a drop. It is 6 feet or more, a little bit more maybe. And it is a liability to the town. If someone should fall over that edge or think they can jump off and they break both legs or their head, then the town could be sued. Yes, we have insurance. Our insurance would go up if we have this type of thing happening where people are going to sue the town. So the money is there. It's removing the liability. It's $3,300. And the fence will last for approximately 50 years. It is an aluminum fence, black aluminum, and it's quite appropriate for the building.
So, Connie, just so, again, just so everybody gets, again, I'm not lobbying one way or the other, but for the framing of the question, if you look at the mouth of the garage of the Academy Hall on the back side, what they're telling you is the pitch below grade, and if you come up on either side of it, you could theoretically fall into the opening that is the garage. And the question is, the way I'm understanding it, is to put a fence on either side to stop people from walking and going into the pit, so to speak. Did I get that right?
Yes, it did.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Debbie Johnson, you gotta come up here. I hope you all got your Fitbits on.
Hi, I'm Debbie Johnson. I'm on Riverside Drive. I live immediately behind the Academy Hall. I've been there 60 odd years. I've looked at that stone wall for years. We've never had an issue with it. And then I think about talking about putting a fence on the side of it. Well, the kids can climb up the fence and jump off, or, you know, just push it over and fall over. It's been there forever and we've never had an issue there. That's all I can say. I don't think it's something that we need to do.
Any other questions or comments? Again, this is another question that requires a majority vote. All those in favor of the question? Any opposed? The motion carries. The second part of this question is to see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve from community preservation annual revenues in the amount recommended by the Community Preservation Committee the sum of money for the rehabilitation of the Academy Hall fire escape or take any other action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $7,238.80 from the Community Preservation Fund for the rehabilitation of the Academy Hall fire escape.
We've got a motion, we've got a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
The advisory recommends favorable action.
Any questions? Doug, anything to say? Is this one?
All I will say on this is in addition to rehabilitation, this includes an inspection and a certification because of the age of the fire escape that it meets the necessary criteria.
Fair enough. Any questions? There is one. Yes, sir. Larry, come on up. Should be, yeah. Spin. You're having way too much fun with this.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's great. Oh, Larry Lake still on Main Street. Just a quick question. If we rebuild it, do we have to comply with the ADA?
This project will not trigger ADA compliance because this is a rehabilitation. This is because this is a rehabilitation of an existing structure. We don't have to go into the complete ADA compliance.
I think that one, Doug, you gotta talk right into it. So, my understanding is, just to repeat back what I heard, my understanding is that the rehabilitation of this fire escape will not trigger an ADA compliance requirement.
Correct.
Okay. That answer the question, Larry? Anything else? This too will require a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from unappropriated available funds the sum of money to increase budget line item 52.1 animal control or take any other action relative thereto. Do we have a motion?
Moderator, I move the town take no action on this article.
Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
The advisory recommends favorable action on no action.
So basically what's happened now is for the reasons that be, that no action has been made the motion, which is an option. It requires a majority vote. Are there any questions? So basically Article 6, you're voting to do nothing. You're voting to no action. Nothing will happen with this question.
Basically, because of the situation with the dog that the animal control officer had to take care of, the budget line was overspent. However, we think it's such a low amount that sometime during the rest of the year, we're going to be able to transfer funds and take care of the shortfall. So rather than impact the money we need for other things, we're taking no action rather than asking for $1,000.
Thank you.
See, no other questions. Whoa, there you are, come on up. Yeah, circuitous route. Yeah, there's a microphone right there on the black table. Keep coming, right there.
I know my colors. Sometimes.
You're good, you got this now, go ahead.
Maybe.
There you go.
Katie, Cedar Blake. My question is, what is the amount you're asking for?
The original request amount, I believe, was $1,000. So we're taking so the motion is to take no action on a $1,000 transfer request or a raise and appropriate request.
I have one more question.
Go.
Is it already appropriated? Or no?
It is not.
I'm new to this.
No, hey, look at the fact that you came up and asked the question is the most important part of the meeting. That's why we have the question. It would have been to raise or appropriate or transfer.
So quickly, the line item has $500 in it. Expenses went up. We had to board a dog that they took and went over the $500. So the account is short. But rather than put money into it this way, we'll find a place to transfer from some fund by the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you.
Okay.
More importantly, thank you. It takes a little bit to get started in this process, and your participation is what makes this work. All right, so we're still on the same motion for no action. This is going to require a majority vote to take no action. All those in favor? Oh, thanks for making it easy. Any opposed? All right, moving on. Article 7, Minichog Land Trust Project Property Acquisition. The question is to see if the town will vote to acquire or purchase or otherwise using previously appropriated community preservation funds the parcel of vacant land on 0 Walnut Street, Hampden County, Mass. Tax parcel ID number 12-179-000. The record owner Anthony Mazzarino, deceased. Hampden County Probate Court Docket Number HD 23P0324EA, as described in the Hampden County Registry of Deeds Book 7009, page 443, containing approximately 14 acres, more or less, for the purchase price of $59,000. Said property to be managed and controlled by the Conservation Commission of the Town of Hampden in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 8C, for conservation and passive recreation purposes, or take any other action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to acquire the parcel of vacant land as described in the warrant article for the purchase price of $59,000, where said sum was previously appropriated for this purpose as a part of an annual town meeting appropriation of community preservation funds, and where said parcel is to be managed and controlled by the Conservation Commission of the Town of Hampden in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 8C, for conservation and passive recreation purposes.
We've got the motion, we've got the second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
All right, so do you have anything you want to add? If you've got something, let's say, why don't we go with that first, and then we'll see if there are any questions.
Sure. We voted to appropriate CPA funds at the spring annual meeting for this parcel. It is contiguous with the current Minichog Mountain Conservation Area. It's about 14 acres. If this goes through, this town-owned land will have access to the Scantic River. It also abuts the VFW property. We plan on putting some flatter hiking trails to access the river, and also to meet up with current hiking trails that are on Minichog Mountain.
Are there any questions? And just for the record, again, if the moderator understands, we are not raising money here. Money has already been appropriated. This is simply to authorize the town to formally take possession of the property. Inasmuch as it is a land taking or a property change, it does require a 2/3 vote. With no more questions, all those in favor? Any opposed? It passes. Thank you. Article 9, funding for a highway department tractor. To see if the town will vote. I'm sorry, the conservation restriction. I got ahead of myself, and I thought you were done. Contingent upon the passage of the previous articles, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen, with consent of the Conservation Commission, to grant to the Minichog Land Trust or any other organization qualified and willing to hold such a restriction, a conservation restriction on the property known as 0 Walnut Street, tax parcel ID 12-179-000, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town authorize the Board of Selectmen, with the consent of the Conservation Commission, to grant the Minichog Land Trust or any other organization qualified and willing to hold such a restriction, a conservation restriction on the property known as 0 Walnut Street, tax parcel ID 12-179-000.
Do we have a second? I do hear it. We have a motion, we have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
And that says you have, just to give a little background on the restriction, how it works, type of thing?
Almost.
Attorney.
So the conservation restriction we hold, we take care of the assessment, the baseline documentation. We take care of the maintenance of the land and the maintenance of any trails that are put on there. The Minichog Land Trust does that, with a group of 4 volunteers.
What's your name?
Jennifer Benton, Cultural Coach.
Just to add to what Jennifer said, I'm Sherry, I know, I'm Sherry Himmelstein, South Road in Hampden. When town owns land and uses the CPA funding to acquire the land, the state requires that a separate nonprofit hold a conservation restriction. So that the Minichog Land Trust does hold conservation restrictions on all the land that has been acquired over the past 20 years, Goat Rock, Westbrook, and we do this and as Jen said, we maintain the trails and we take care of any problems and we make sure that the conservation values are upheld.
Any questions? Seeing none, the implementation of this restriction as well requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. Now I'm right, it's Article 9. Just takes me a second. Funding for a highway department tractor. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from unappropriated available funds a sum of money for the purchase of a new tractor for the highway department or take any other action relative thereto. Motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $108,127.60 from unappropriated available funds for the purchase of a new tractor for the highway department.
There's a motion and a second. I think you were looking to hear the dollar figure again. It was $108,127.60. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Any questions or discussion, John?
We do have Mark here for a presentation. I know he has some pictures online. He was actually going to drive the old tractor over here, but wouldn't make it. Mark, can you give us a quick recap?
Mark, there's a microphone right in there somewhere.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Langoni. I am your Highway Department Superintendent. Past couple of years, we have been experiencing some issues with either our tractor or our side attachment, sickle bar attachment. Either one works and the other one doesn't, or vice versa, but it's been a difficult past couple of years to keep up on our roadside mowing. We've done what we could to, piece things together to finish the season, but it's getting to the point now where we're unable to find parts for either the tractor, which is a 1999 Ford New Holland, or the sickle bar attachment that goes to it. The other reason for bringing this article to the selectmen for fall town meeting is a matter of timing. If this motion was to pass tonight and we could order the tractor tomorrow, while the tractor is about 3 to 4 months out, the attachment we're looking at is about 6 months out. So we wouldn't see that attachment and tractor until around April or May, which is when we like to get started on our first round of roadside mowing. If this article were to wait until Springtown meeting, essentially, we would lose the whole next year. We would lose all of next season. If we were to order in, July 1st, and we wouldn't see that tractor until December, January of, later on that year or the following year. So really, it's a matter of timing. That's all I got, really, so.
Okay, fair enough. Are there any questions for the highway superintendent? Seeing none, this requires a majority vote. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Article 10, additional funding for the fire department brush truck. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from unappropriated available funds the sum of money for additional funding for a FEMA grant to purchase a new brush truck for the fire department or take any other action relative thereto. Motion.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $42,600 from unappropriated available funds to supplement the required local match of $10,952.39 for a FEMA grant of $219,047.61 to purchase a new brush truck for the fire department.
We've got the motion, we've got the second. Advisory committee, how do you feel?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Any questions, or would you like to hear a bit from the fire chief?
Can you repeat the number?
Why don't you give a bit of a recap?
Want me to repeat the numbers?
Yes.
So it would be a vote to transfer $42,600 from available funds. In the spring meeting, you voted for $10,952.39. And then the FEMA grant is $219,047.61. So that's a grand total of $272,600 for the price of the truck. And the price for the town will be a little over $53,000.
So basically, if I have the math right, we've already appropriated $10,952 in the spring. The FEMA grant amount is not changing, but the amount needed by the town to get the truck that they're looking for is the additional $42,600. So the total amount of $53,000 is not what you're voting. You're voting as to whether or not you want to raise and appropriate or transfer another $42,600. And any other questions on that? Yes, Mary Ellen.
The additional funds are because we're getting more on the truck, or?
Why don't we go ahead and please state the question, and then Ed will answer it.
Yeah, that's what
No, let's use the microphone. Is it there? I want everyone to be able to hear.
it's not here anymore, it's
Ed,
disappeared.
they're still here. Somebody's taking a microphone. Can't be me. It's not.
Is the additional money because we're changing what we're ordering, or is the additional money because the price of the truck has changed, or? I don't understand why it's.
Why we need more money.
Why we need more money.
Gotcha. That's the question.
So we did have a PowerPoint. Do we have but basically, when we originally filed for the grant, it was back in 2021, and once we were accepted in 2022, we came to town for their local match. Once we had that match, we knew it was time to start shopping for the truck. Between that time we applied for the grant and now, obviously, the inflation or price of the truck has gone up. So we didn't change anything. We are trying to purchase a truck that's more than a rush truck. It's something we can use all year round instead of just something we use seasonally. So it'll be lights on it, will be so that we can bring to the scene and light it up better. It's also going to have four-wheel drive and a larger pump on it. So if we need to get to the water supply in the winter time or springtime where it's muddy, we can drive up closer to a pond or river with it. So it's going to be a lot more universal of a piece of equipment for us than just the brush truck.
I just have, Mr. Moderator, I just have a question. Will we be receiving any funds for the old truck?
The old truck, we do, according to the grant, when we fill it out, we do have to sell the old truck. Our guesstimate is it's at least worth $5,000, maybe up to $15,000 that the town would receive back in funds from that. That goes right into the general funds.
Are there, oh, I see another question. Please, come on, sure.
Ed, take that.
Should have been a little more explicit, huh?
Lisa Sternberg, 15 Mountain View Drive.
Is it on?
Yeah, it is.
Talk right into it.
Lisa Sternberg, 15 Mountain View Drive. Ed, is there going to be a room, oh, good moderator, yes, okay.
Fine.
Is there room in the fire station? Because we've heard a lot about, you know, how tight it is and so on, and this is a new brush truck, so.
That's a good question. The brush truck is a custom-built truck to fit into the current space that we have. We took that into consideration. It's gonna be very tight, but it will fit, and we did take that into consideration.
Any other questions? Seeing none, this requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Article 11, funding for new defibrillators and AEDs. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from unappropriated available funds a sum of money to replace defibrillators, AEDs, or take any other action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $23,400 from unappropriated available funds for the purchase of 9 new defibrillators. They wouldn't do it. We had to vote on this. Who was going to do this already?
I'm thinking next time you go into the ballot box, you might want to really be a little nervous about that. Yeah, let's go with the AEDs. I got the defibrillator now. I mean, I spent 6 years in the chuck. I did. All right, so I didn't hear a second to that motion yet. Now I hear a second. That's it. Advisory, you have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
So we've got a motion, we've got a second, we've got favorable action. Are there any questions? I do see one. Oh, you're ready to vote? I like the way you work. Yeah, you are outstanding. You can have mine too. All right, so I don't see any questions. All those in, Larry? What's the amount? $23,400.
Are we gonna do the old one?
Any, so seeing no other. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. If I heard that, what do you do with the old ones?
Yes. If you're replacing these, where are the old ones going? I was unaware that they expired. They do? I know I haven't seen that.
Just wait for the green light, you're good. Wait for the green light.
Wait for the green light, not red.
You hear me?
Use your police voice.
Good evening. My name is Chief Scott Trombley, reside at 100 Allen Street. Check. So yes, the defibs, the old defibs, there's a $400 trade-in value. Is that factored in? Yes. That'll fit.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, this is a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Article 12, additional funding for the Hampden Master Plan. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from unappropriated available funds a sum of money as a partial local match for a $75,000 grant from the Commonwealth to update the town master plan or take any other action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $57,500 from the unappropriated available funds to supplement, to
Right into it.
to supplement a $75,000 state grant to update the 1982 Hampden Master Plan.
I hear the motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. Advisory recommendation, please.
Advisory recommends recommends unfavorable action.
Okay, the advisory has recommended negative action. Anything you'd like to say?
Yes, thank you very much. I am Pat Coyne. I'm a member of the planning board. I live on Southridge Road. And I will be taking the lead for the planning board on updating the master plan. Just as some background.
Please talk into the mic.
I'm sorry, okay. So just as some background, towns with planning boards are required by the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, to prepare a master plan which documents development priorities for the next 5 to 10 years. That's Massachusetts law. And that plan should be updated periodically. Of course, that has not been done here in Hampden. We have a 1982 master plan that has not been rolled forward to today. The idea behind an updated master plan is that it will help set priorities for long-term physical development in the town over the period of decades, or perhaps even generations. When you think of it, is how long some of these development plans can impact the community. In addition to the Massachusetts general laws requiring an updated master plan, if you were to look at the mission statement of the town's planning board on the website, that mission statement states that the planning board is authorized to develop the town's master plan for growth and make recommendations to ensure that development is consistent with this plan. So, as a planning board, we've been unable to execute against that objective of the plan because we've been working with the only available plan is a set of 1982 views of Hampden. I think one of the assumptions in that plan was that at this point, Hampden would have over 7,000 residents. And I think, as we all know, we have less than 5,000. So clearly, as a planning board, we need a document we can work with so that when people come to us with planning objectives, we can balance those and look at those and compare those to a document that reflects the way the town is today and the way different citizens of the town feel about development. Another important aspect of having an updated plan is that in my conversations with Bob Markle, he said that when it comes to state funding for certain projects, the state looks and asks communities if those projects are consistent with their master plan. I think we're in a difficult position as a community, having a reference point being a 1982 master plan, not something that's more recent. I would think if we had an updated master plan, when we're in a grant funding situation, it could pay for itself pretty quickly if it was the difference maker, having an updated plan. Also, I would note that the Long Meadow community has a master plan that was updated in 2023, and the East Long Meadow master plan was updated in 2021. So I was in front of you in March of this year. We talked about the consulting firm that we had chosen. We went through a due diligence effort. We spoke with communities that had used them. Clearly, the firm we selected, BHB, was the best choice. Even with a delay, the price that they quoted us is still the same, $132,500, and it hasn't changed. So we felt like we would be ready to work with them. They provided us the documentation to begin to execute a plan. So at this point, we feel like we're in a position to move forward. I've been leading the effort. We really don't, as a community, we need to update the plan. We can't function well with the 1982 plan. The additional $57,500 would really make a difference working with the consultant. The idea is the way that process works is a series of outreach and participation with residents, businesses, town departments, elected boards, and volunteer committees. So it's really connecting the community with a plan to the future. And I think our planning board very much benefit from having a document we can rely on. We know we would use it because when it's completed, we would add it to the manual we look to every week, which are the bylaws that we reference when people come in front of us. So in addition to the bylaws, we would have a long-term plan as a reference point, another place to check relative to things that come in front of us.
Are there any questions? Jim Smith? Jim, please, Jim, come on up, please.
I just wanted to ask the advisory committee to state the reason for their opinion.
Fair enough.
Captain Castellano, Chapin Road. The reason why the advisory committee is recommending negative action is because this warrant article was brought before the voters at the annual town meeting in May, and it was voted down. So now we are seeing a repeat for, albeit a few $1,000s less. I believe the original warrant article in the May town meeting was for $75,000, and now they're asking for $57,000. But the advisory board feels that the voters have already heard it, have voted on it, and voted no at the annual town meeting.
I gotcha, just checking the room real quick. Rita, can you please come up though? You can grab the microphone from Doug. I'm trying to figure out where they are.
Rita Vale, Hampden, was on the outside.
Right into it, Rita.
Like this? The planning board is a totally volunteer group, and as is the Conservation Commission and the Minichog Land Trust people. They are not paid, and the master plan is something that without it, we will not qualify for certain grants, I believe. That was what I understood from the past. So I'm pushing for the master plan. And the reason that maybe in the annual meeting that the money was not appropriated is because it was affecting the tax rate. Now we are voting money, a lot of money, out of free cash.
Which affects the tax rate.
Okay, but so do all of the other articles. So anyway, I'm making a pitch for this article. Thank you.
Joe, Mr. Sevilla, please.
I'm gonna have to.
Thanks, Matt. I haven't been sworn in as an associate member of the planning board, but I was recently elected as an associate member of the planning board. And although some of our detractors in the audience would suggest that we don't need a plan, they are offered by people who make their business doing plans. Nobody in this room would build a house without a plan. Nobody would survey any property and buy it without a plan. There are very few things we would do without a plan. You can't borrow any money without a plan. You can't get any grants without a plan. The tools that are available today to develop this plan are far greater than they've ever been. We could create things in this town that could improve the quality of life with a solid plan that would inspire generations of people to move here. The town plan is necessary for the long-term quality of life initiatives for the town of Hampden, and I urge you to support it. And I urge you to take advantage to all of the things that are available to us to put a good plan together. Thank you.
Mr. Patella.
I spoke against this in May when it was defeated, and I will speak against it again. The master plan's primary focus is in zoning. And for a town with immature zoning that hasn't developed where commercial districts are and this type of thing, the master plan makes some sense. After the last meeting, I think they told me that Wilbraham's master plan goes from 1964, but I'm not 100% sure of that. I've heard the statement that we don't qualify for grants if we don't have a master plan. Show me the facts. I don't believe that. Because Bob's been doing a heck of a job of bringing in grant money without a master plan. I've been on the Zoning Board of Appeals for over 25 years. No one has ever asked me, what does the master plan say about that? Because it's not a document that's used. It's something that consultants bring in a bunch of meetings and say, what kind of things would you want? And the next thing you know, the master plan's gonna have bicycle lanes that we're gonna have to pay for in every single street. So we voted it down 6 months ago, and I hope we do the same thing now so people don't bring back the same stuff over and over again.
Any other questions? I've got two. Jack, hold on one second. Connie? She has a longer walk, Jack. Probably over here, Connie, is a microphone. Talk right into it once you get to the mic.
I have a couple of things. The first one would be to the planning board. Is PVPC participating in this in any way? I mean, they are the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and they actually, because we are a member of the Pioneer Valley, we pay money to them, they give us back in expertise to different town boards. So could I have an answer to that question?
They are one of the advisors that would have provided us a service to develop a plan, and we chose not to go with them. It doesn't mean that they aren't still a resource. In fact, several of us are going to attend a training course provided by them about developing.
Do you have the figure that they gave you for?
She's asking if you have the quoted figure from Pioneer Valley Planning. Have they done the study?
I can't recall that. I don't know if anybody else in my team knows that.
Sure. No, come on up. I got you.
Hi, this is Heather Beatty of South Monson Road. I'm also on the planning board. First of all, to the point about grants, you have to remember, this isn't just about being given a grant. This is about competing with other towns for grants, okay? We're a small town. We tend to get a little overlooked once in a while. And with a 41-year-old master plan, it looks like we don't care, okay? It looks like we're complacent, like we're not looking towards the future. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I suspect most of you are very, very concerned about your property and the value of your property as time goes on. And I think a master plan and a robust master plan, which we did not have 41 years ago, if you've ever read it, which is why no one uses it, but a robust master plan that your planning board is invested in would be very, very useful on many, many fronts.
The only thing I want to add is if you're going to kind of coattail under those comments about the need for the master plan, I'd rather not continue with that. I think the planning board through Mr. Sedillia have already made that point. So the answer to Connie's question still hasn't been given, which was the estimated cost from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to do the work.
Right, I'm sorry, I do have an answer for your question. They quoted us $75,000 to do a master plan, but we grilled 3 different companies with great diligence as to exactly what we would get for that money, and we were going to get very little for that money in comparison to what we would get with this company. And I, in particular, spoke with the town of Palmer. It was the town of Palmer, wasn't it? Yeah, the town of Palmer. And I think you did too, didn't you? Because they had used this company that we've chosen, and they could not say enough good things about them. They said they went way beyond what they guaranteed that they would give us for the money that they had quoted. And one of the things that they are really